In the frozen wilderness of the northern Ural Mountains, February 1959, 9 experienced hikers set out on an expedition that would end in one of the most baffling mysteries in modern history. They were young, skilled, and prepared, students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in Sverdlovsk, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. Their goal was to ski across the icy expanse to reach Otorten Mountain, a remote peak whose name in the local Mansi language ominously translates to "Don't go there." They carried everything they needed: food, skis, tents, and cold weather gear. Each of them was experienced in winter trekking. No one could have guessed that only days later all 9 would be dead, under strange and terrifying circumstances. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women. On January 23rd, they boarded a train from Sverdlovsk to Ivdel, then traveled by truck to a logging camp. They were in good spirits, recording their journey with photographs and diary entries, joking and singing despite the cold. Along the way, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill with knee and joint pain and decided to return home. A decision that would ultimately save his life. The remaining 9 continued, unaware that they would never make it back. On February 1st, they began the most difficult part of their journey, climbing toward the Kholat Shakal mountain, meaning dead mountain in the Mansi language. The weather was worsening: heavy snow, strong winds, and freezing temperatures. They veered off course and decided to camp on the slope of the mountain rather than return to the forest below. This decision has puzzled investigators for decades. Why camp on an exposed slope in such brutal conditions? Perhaps they wanted to practice mountain camping or avoid losing the ground they'd covered. Whatever the reason, it would be their final night. When the group failed to return, search parties were sent out. Days turned into weeks before rescuers finally discovered their tent on February 26th. What they saw was unsettling. The tent was half collapsed and covered in snow, yet still standing enough to show something strange. It had been cut open from the inside. The hikers' belongings were neatly arranged inside: clothes, boots, food, skis. But there was no one there. Footprints, some barefoot, others in socks, led away from the tent toward the forest, disappearing into the snow after about 500 meters. Following the tracks, searchers found the first bodies beneath a cedar tree, nearly 1.5 kilometers from the tent. They were those of Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, lying barefoot, dressed only in underwear, as if they had fled in panic. The branches above them were broken, suggesting someone had climbed up, perhaps searching for something, or to escape something. Nearby was the remains of a small fire. 3 more bodies were found between the cedar and the tent: Dyatlov, Zina Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin. They appeared to have been trying to return to camp, crawling through the snow. All were lightly dressed for the freezing night. Slobodin had a fractured skull, though investigators said it was not fatal. The last 4 hikers remained missing for 2 more months. When the snow melted in May, searchers discovered them in a ravine about 75 meters from the cedar tree, buried under 4 meters of snow. These bodies told a more disturbing story. Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, part of her lips, and some facial tissue. Alexander Kolovatov's nose was broken. Nikolai Thibaut Brignol had a massive skull fracture. Semyon Zolotaryov's chest was crushed with injuries comparable to a car crash, yet with no external wounds. The force required was far beyond human capability. Dubinina and Zolotaryov's chests were similarly crushed. Oddly, some of their clothes tested positive for radiation. The official investigation concluded that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force, but offered no explanation for what that force was. Theories flooded in. Some believed it was an avalanche, but the slope was too shallow, and the footprints and tent suggested no such event. Others suspected an attack by the native Mansi people, yet there were no signs of struggle or weapons. Some pointed to secret Soviet military tests, perhaps parachute mines or high-powered weapons, that could cause internal injuries without leaving external marks. The presence of radiation fueled speculation of nuclear involvement. Witnesses from other expeditions in the area reported strange orange orbs moving in the sky on the night of February 1st, further adding to the mystery. Another theory is infrasound, a phenomenon where strong winds create low-frequency vibrations that can cause panic, disorientation, and irrational behavior. This could explain why the hikers fled their tent into the deadly cold, but not the devastating internal injuries. Wildlife scavenging could account for missing soft tissue, but not the crushing forces that broke bones without breaking skin. Yuri Yudin, the only survivor, spent his life haunted by the mystery. He said he wished he had been with his friends that night, even if it meant dying with them, because the unanswered questions tormented him. To this day, no one knows for certain why 9 skilled hikers tore their way out of their tent in the freezing dark, leaving behind their boots, coats, and gear, running into the snow toward their deaths. The Dyatlov Pass Incident has become one of the most enduring and chilling unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. It is a story of adventure turned nightmare, of a night where something, be it nature, human, or something else entirely, drove 9 people into chaos and death. The winds still howl across the slopes of Kholat Shahol, carrying with them the whispers of that night in 1959, when the snow buried not just 9 young lives, but the truth of what really happened. If you found this story as chilling as I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life mysteries. And tell me in the comments, what do you think happened that night on Dyatlov Pass?